Man, I need to start muting my monitor, don't I? Well, I can go ahead and kill the stream because I know the audio is working. I could hear myself closing the door. Moving around. All right. So I just sent the email out, so you guys probably aren't tuned in yet. I mean, assuming anyone's actually up and doing anything this morning. But what we want to do is get our cluster deployed and test to make sure SSM is working and everything's up. So let's go ahead and go back to our deal here. So right now we've got the add runner branch that we've been working on. Let me go ahead and pop that IDE up. And then let's run some pipelines. So actually, so looking at this README real quick, I made a note down here at the bottom what the deployment order is, and this is eventually I'll go back through and try to rewrite the code or figure out a way to make this happen so you don't have to manually do this. But this is like sort of a manual order that we've got to take in order to deploy things initially. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy the boundary VPC. And do that. And again, we're going to do everything from the add runner branch, even though the reality is that a lot of what we're doing is not going to make any difference because that code hasn't been changed. It'll be the same in our add runner branch as it is in the main branch. But what we want to do is use this branch anyway, because eventually when this branch gets merged into main, all those changes get picked up. If we're doing everything, deploying everything from this branch, then we know this code, this version of the code is functional. So let's go ahead and do that. And then apply. And kick that off. Now while that's going, we can actually go ahead and deploy the other VPC as well. Because there's no dependencies between the two. And you might be thinking, hey, you know, couldn't you just write like since all the VPCs don't really have anything to do with each other, couldn't you write like some sort of, I don't know, put it all in like a VPC folder and then have like boundary and operations under that, and that way you could just deploy VPC and all those would go first. And yeah, you could do that. The reason I didn't do it, because from a deployment perspective, when you go in here and do a run or an apply and you apply like /VPC and that's it, that would be convenient for the pipeline side. The problem is that I've just kind of found from an understanding the code when you read it point of view, it just kind of comes out to where the VPCs are, how would I explain this? They're the organization by VPC is just a little bit more intuitive, or at least it is to me, and maybe that's not true of everybody else. But I found that like if I look at the code and I have it split up by VPC, then I just kind of have an immediate understanding of what's going on. Like for instance, you know, I come in here and I look at development, and obviously network and applications are two different folders, and I might want to find a way to differentiate VPCs from, sorry, I got a bug flying around here, VPCs from other folders. That might be something I'd want to do actually, but for right now, you know, boundary's going to have a load balancer and a VPC. These are things that just exist inside that boundary component, and then operations, you know, it's going to have a lot more stuff. There is the VPC, but we're also going to have this runner that's going to exist there. There's several endpoints that need to be deployed there. There's EKS and all the things that go under EKS. So you're kind of grouping it like this, to me, makes a little bit more sense. And network, of course, you know, we have the transit gateway, and then we've got a bunch of routes that have to be added based off the transit gateway. So, yeah, anyway, that's that is that. In applications, there's nothing there yet. Really, applications probably should be a totally separate project, and I'm still kind of kicking that idea around. I might end up breaking that out and just have a separate thing that runs, that deploys the application. I just haven't quite decided how I want to do that yet. So, in any case, let's see. Okay. First VPC has deployed. Second VPC is probably getting close. Oh, did I run a destroy? Well, let's cancel that. I bet y'all saw me do that and you're just laughing your butts off. Well, if anyone's watching. No one's probably watching. All right. Apply, not destroy. See, this is why so many technical videos out there are jump cut, and when you don't really see anybody live streaming actually doing stuff, because, you know, who wants to look stupid live? And once we're done here, we'll run that transit gateway. Really, I don't even think we need to do that. We can just run the network. That's what we'll do. And in that case, I want to go ahead and update this because I did this the other day. Yeah, it worked. So, because we don't actually have to deploy the transit gateway before the routes. Those dependencies already exist, so they deploy correctly without our interference. Okay, we're just waiting for this guy to get triggered and run, and then once he's done, which, you know, per the other one was pretty quick, we will deploy the network, and then after that will be the first major break, because we'll need to deploy the transit gateway, which does take a little bit of time. There's some waiting on that one and all the routes that come with it, and then we'll start deploying the cluster, and that'll be another big, or actually we'll do the endpoints first. We'll deploy the endpoints and then the cluster, and that takes some pretty substantial waiting. So once all that's up and good and we make sure that the cluster is operational, then we'll deploy our runner and start doing that testing. In fact, I may even end the stream and start a new stream when we get to that point. So once we've tested the runner and it's functional and there's no problems there, assuming however long that takes, then what I'll do is I'll stop the stream and I'll start another one and send out another email blast to everybody to have one that's specific to setting up that, configuring that runner. Okay. So this will take a bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw it on the standby screen so folks can skip this later if they want to. I'm not sure how long it'll take, but I think these transit gateways can kind of take a little while to create sometimes. So enjoy the standby, and then when we come back, I'll show it done, and we'll move on to the next part. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I got that done. I was working off the side here. So, quick update on what happened. So it did fail. I guess I don't have the dependency set up quite like I needed to, so I had to run the Terraform Gateway deployment first. That is done, and now I'm just deploying the rules, which should go pretty quick, and then we'll move on to the next part, which then you get to listen to that awesome music again. But you know what? I might try to change that. Yeah, I'll find a different song, because the old one. Actually, you know what? I know what I'm gonna do. Let me see. I'll load up some DRM free background music. And we find that while we're waiting for this stuff to go. Whoa, not that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's what we'll do. All right, so that worked. Okay. So next, we've gotten all that done. So basically what we have deployed is we deployed the boundary VPC, we deployed the operations VPC, and we deployed all of network. So all those are done. So network's done. Boundary's effectively done. We don't need the load balancer right now, so that's finished. So now we're just on operations. So we need to deploy the endpoints and then EKS. So let's go get at that. So new pipeline, main. So this is going to be operations / endpoints. Apply that. And if we check up here, sure enough, we can see that we've got our VPCs here as expected. So, and I guess we're waiting for that to spin up. If we go down and look at endpoints, there are no endpoints. So this guy should go pretty quick, I think. Yeah, great thing about these breaks is I get to go send out my copious amounts of emails, which, yay, fun. But if we want to stay employed, we gotta do it. The plan. So usually this is when I'm off kicking this off, and then I'll roll over and start working on something else while these run in the background. It may not be the most ideal thing to be splitting your time between, I don't know, multiple efforts, but honestly, that's about all the time I have. If I try to do everything linearly, I easily run out of time. There's no way I could do that. All right. So you saw how fast that plan ran the whatchamacallit, the apply should be just as fast. And as you can probably hear in the microphone, we have company in the office, or somewhere in the office. Okay. Come on, you slow bugger. I don't remember these endpoints really taking very long, so. And now when we go to deploy the cluster, I think we can just deploy ECAS. I'm going to try it. We might have to do roles and then cluster. And all of this just means that my I haven't set up the dependencies and stuff quite correctly to make all that line up. Because technically, Terraform is supposed to auto sense and group things to deploy. That's why when you install a lot of stuff, which you kind of see it here, group 1, group 2, there is really only group 1 is basically the VPC that's already been installed. Group 2 is the endpoints that I'm installing now. So group 1 basically goes through and pulls all the values for the VPC that's just been deployed, and then group 2 will be the endpoints that are, yeah, and they're done. So if we go over here and refresh, we should see those. Yep, they're all there. So that is that. So anyway, yeah, Terraform is supposed to be able to, or TerraGrunt, I mean, actually both of them, because they're kind of using each other. But TerraGrunt's supposed to be able to sense like what order things need to be deployed in and group them up into batches and deploy them as a batch at a time. I don't really feel that has worked very well for me. Operations. It is operations, isn't it? Yeah, operations. Yes, and then apply. Yeah, anyway, so I've kind of been a little doubtful about that. But anyway, so this is the cluster and some roles. The cluster itself and the node groups that's going to get deployed with the cluster are both going to take about 10-20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on hold and or standby, and I'll throw some music up in the background. I want to change it so the music's not just repeating one song. And so yeah, all right, I'll be back here in a bit. took about 20 minutes. Which is actually a little bit faster than I thought it would take. Sorry, I've got some allergies kicking my butt this morning. Okay, so that was EKS, so the entire EKS deployed. Let's go ahead and deploy the runner. So looking at our thing here, so basically EKS is all deployed, endpoints is all deployed, runner's the only thing we've got left, so let's go ahead and get that in there. And apply. And of course, if we come over here and look at EKS, we can see that we do have a cluster now, and in this cluster we do have an active node group, so all that is looking good. And so let's get rid of that. Let's watch this guy go. Sorry, I'm not talking much because I'm actually working on sending out an email, which you all will be seeing shortly. Errors. What's this BS? All right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, we need last Friday we figured this out. We got this sorted, but we did not create the role. So the runner needs a specific role. We need to create that, and we didn't do that Friday. So let's go ahead and add that real quick. I knew this was running too easy. So oh no, we did. Okay, well here's the role. Why did the role not work? You know what, let me rerun and specify the role and just make sure it got created. Development. So yeah, that should work. Yes, for a roll. That should notionally work. And while we're doing that, I'll send out another email because that's how I roll. Okay, that worked. So the role got created. That looks good. And no tags. Okay, we'll have to check that because there should have been at least some. All right, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and rerun that runner instance. runner instance. Okay. Apply. And then let's fix this guy. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there we go. Did I? Oh, actually, you know what? We do not have tags in here. That is actually pretty important because there's going to be times where roles, in particular, we need to know where those tags are. So let's check. So kind of going over what we did last week. You know, here's the IAM role. So the question is do we have a tags input? So let's go look at that. Oh, actually, I've already got it up here still. Just make sure it's the same one. Nope, that's the policy. That's not what we want. We want the role. Okay. All right, so here's the role. I do see a tags here, so there should be a tags input. Yeah, okay, tags. All right, so let's fix that. In fact, this is how I add like inputs, outputs, stuff like that to these roles. So this is actually going to end up being a good example. So okay, so oh, you know what? I'm not going to do this because I am going to do this, but I'm not going to do it right now because you know how I was talking about the other day about how difficult it is to keep your commits clean. Well, this commit, if I make this update, it has nothing to do with getting the instance up and working. It's a really simple thing that we do need to do, but it doesn't have anything to do with getting the instance up and working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish working on this instance, get it there, and I'm going to merge this branch and then create a new branch specifically to fix those roles. So let's go ahead and, because if this works, if this deployment is gets done and I can use SSM to access that rudder, we're going to call this good, and we'll go ahead and merge this branch for right now just to get that completed. Let me check the apply. And yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll create a new branch, and in fact, yeah, I think that'll be the plan. So when I get done with this, assuming this guy deploys and everything, I'm going to go ahead and set the merge and finish out the merge and get that done just so you can kind of see what that looks like. And then what I'll do is I'll stop the stream and I'll start a new stream that is specifically fixing the tags and then looking at how we're going to do the configuring the runner so that it connects to GitLab and all that jazz. So, okay. That's the plan. Come on, buddy. Install correctly. And when it comes to like doing creating the Terraform and stuff, I one of the things I really want to foot stomp, and when I get there, I'll foot stomp it again. But it's really important that you think about your outputs and your inputs. You take time to do things correctly. It's really, really easy, especially if you start doing any sort of infrastructure as code, any sort of coding, scripting development, it is just so easy to skip over things like commenting your code, formatting your code nicely, implementing things like outputs and setting up your inputs to take things like tags. Like it has no functional impact on what we're doing currently. There's nothing that those tags matter at all, except that it's handy when things go wrong to be able to look and quickly figure out where something is deployed from. So getting that operations runner instance path or operations runner role path to let you know, oh, this role came from here, is really valuable when you've got things that are not working the way you think they should, especially if you're not the one that wrote the code. We have a tendency to get so wrapped up in that means I need to go remove that actually. We have a tendency to get so wrapped up in what we're doing that we lose track of the fact that there are other people that are relying on us to do good, clean, well formatted code. So it's just incredibly important to be thinking about that and to be a considerate engineer, I guess. Again, we all fail. We screw this up. It doesn't matter who you are. I do it all the time. I do it to myself all the time. But just thinking about it and coming back to it will help keep you from making mistakes. And one of the things you don't want to be is that crusty, grouchy neckbeard that constantly, justifies his existence by being so disagreeable that no one wants him there, but he's too invaluable to be fired. There was a time where, when I was a young engineer, that's how we determined who the senior engineers were. The ones that you just hated talking to because if you weren't in the club, they just treated you so disrespectfully, but they were so valuable to the organization that you couldn't get rid of them. That as I've gotten older, I've realized that is not the hallmark of success I thought it was at the time, and it really just turns out it disadvantages you tremendously. Being helpful, being personable, which granted, we're nerds, so we're not really great at that, but just being I don't know, like just trying to get along with people will score you social capital that you can cash in later for favors and for help and stuff like that. And I've just found over the years that is way more valuable. So anyway, this failed again. I think this means we're probably creating a role incorrectly or something. So let's, in fact, now that I think about it, I know we are, because I bet we are making an assumable role, which is not what we need. We probably need a regular role. So let me go create this instance by hand and see if, actually I don't even need to go that far. I can just look down here. Well, yeah, we don't even need to do that. Okay. Yeah, okay. So, all right, so what I need to do is look for instance profile, not role. So let's check that out real quick. Yeah, here's what we needed. Okay, so we need one extra step. So you guys do get to see what this looks like. All right, so basically we need to create this instance profile, and we need to do it based off of this role, this other role that we created. Actually, it looks pretty straightforward. So yeah, let's do that. All right. So here we go. So we're in the runner. We could probably just do the role and the profile. So actually, let me start there. So we could come down here and just do another role or do the instance profile in here so that it creates the role and creates the profile all as one deal. And that would be perfectly acceptable. A lot of people do it that way, and I think some folks would even probably argue that's the right way to do it. Here's my issue with it. Right now, these roles are kind of the only one-off, but generally what I try to do is something like routes. Like down here, I got this add route. This route can be used over and over and over and over, and it actually is. Up here, if you look under network, look at all these routes I have. Every one of these routes here is using this exact same module because this module is just generic. It does the one thing, and that's it. And so what I want is, as much as possible, I want my modules to work the same way, where they can just be used over and over. Now, right now, we only have this one instance that needs this IAM role, so we really could legitimately throw it under the runner role and just have it all do it as one deal. But I think there is probably going to be a case in the future where I need to create other instant roles. And even if I don't, just as a general best practice, it's best to make these as generic as possible, just so you can reuse them as often as you can. So that means that I'm going to come down here and let's see, I have EKS, endpoints, routes, transit gateway. So how would I name this? I could create it. I could create a folder called instance. I don't know if there's anything else I would do under that. So I think I'm just going to go straight for instance profile. So let's go ahead and new folder. And then under that, we're going to need main.tf. We're going to need variables.tf, outputs.tf, and we're going to have a readme. Okay. Good. All right. So let me go ahead and throw that down because I'll probably do some copy pasta from there. So first thing we want to do is come over here and say, okay, looking at this, really, this is the only thing we're going to need. We're going to need the name and the role. I think that's literally it. And based on what we were talking about earlier, we do want tags. So we're gonna add the tags in there as well. So let's go ahead and copy that. So this will be main. Oh, and one thing I almost forgot. We want a ref. We want to be able to say, hey, if you have any questions, this is where you look. Okay. All right. So now this name, both of these actually need to be changed. So var.name. var.role. Okay. And then we also want tags. Equals var.tags. Okay. And that should be that. All right. It's going to be that easy. So let's now do the outputs. And the way I often will do that is I come down here. It says resource exports the following, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all these because that's going to be kind of my notes I'm going to follow. All right. And now let's just copy in an example output that we're going to borrow. Okay. And so we're going to need ARN, create date, ID, tags, and unique ID. All right. We can leave that one. Well, we gotta change right here. Okay. And tags all. Unique ID. Okay. And then let's copy in the description. And I do this because basically everything that the resource is supposed to output, with some exceptions. Sometimes you're just busy and you don't have time to do them all, and so you do the main ones. Or like I was doing with the roles, there's just so many of them that I didn't have time to go through and do them, all of them. So I just did the main ones that I thought we would need. But generally, especially if I'm only creating a basic one like this, I try to do them all, even if I don't think there's any reason I would ever need this unique ID when I can reference it by ARN and ID. So there shouldn't be any reason why I'd ever need this, but it's there. I'm going to go ahead and include it. And what this does is this ensures that this thing outputs everything that I would need in order to be successful. So, whoops, wrong one. Okay. Where did I? Am I crazy? Oh, wrong file. All right, here we go. All right, so in here, I'm going to go ahead and copy. Let's rename it to. What we're going to name it to. This. That'll work. All right, so we're going to take this, go to outputs, and change that to a dot. All right. So it's IAM-instance profile.this. So this basically has to get replaced. Paste. There are shortcuts you can do, by the way. I'm not going to bother with them right now. Okay. So just follow this unique ID, tags all, ID. And by the way, for those of you who haven't done Terraform before, all of this is it's a unique identifier for this specific resource, and it really doesn't matter what it is. This is kind of standard if you're doing like a module and you're referencing yourself. The only thing in here is this. On the other hand, my endpoints. Here we go. This endpoints is actually a good example of, you'll see that like I've got a whole bunch of endpoints here. They're all using the exact same thing. Endpoint, 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 endpoint. But I've got them DKR, ECR, S3, EC2 logs. And the reason you do this is so that like when you reference them in outputs or anywhere else, the DKR ID is VPC endpoint DKR.ID. Same for ECR.ID, S3.ID. It's just to delineate between the different ones. But when you only have the one, like we do in this instance profile, that's the only one you need. Now, let's grab a variable. Okay, here's an example variable. Now, we know we're going to have, if we look at main, we're going to have a name, role, and tags. So let's go ahead and set those up. Name, role, and tags. All right. Now, here's the other thing. you can make variables required or optional. And the way you do that is by specifying a default. Even if the default's null, by specifying a default, you made it optional. Now, in our case, the only thing that's optional is going to be tags. So tags will be optional, but name and what was the other thing we needed? Role. Name and role are not optional. These are required. If you don't have these, it won't work. So we get rid of that and we get rid of that. And by getting rid of the default, it basically makes it null. And now the tags default is going to be a map. Oops. Okay. Empty map. All right. So, and we say right here, map strings. I think that's correct. Which actually I can check because I've got where you know what, have I not you know what, I have not added tags to any of this stuff, so I'll need to go through and add that later. All right, so that's going to be a bigger thing than I thought it was. So I apparently haven't been adding the tags option to any of my stuff and didn't catch it until now. Okay, well anyway, so variables. So tags, and again, I'm just going to copy from over here. So I will take that. Okay, and then if I go over here, roles is the other one. Well, so role, it says here it's optional, but it's not going to be optional in our module. So let me go ahead and add the description, and I'm going to change it to required. And the reason it's required is because, like I said earlier, if we don't have it, it doesn't work. Tags you don't need. Actually, I guess role could be optional. Because you could just create the instance profile and not have anything in it. Yeah, you know what? We'll go ahead and do that. Because that's the way that thing is written. We will simply do that. All right. So variables. Optional. And now variable role, null would be an acceptable answer, I think. And then now name is not optional. We have to have name. So apparently that is optional too. So let's go ahead and actually we'll copy the whole thing. There we go. So, yeah, so these all exist now. This is ready to use. So I need to add it to modules. So instance profile. So modules. And we will, let's copy this one as an example because it's pretty short. And I try to keep these roughly in alphabetical order. So it'll be EC2 profile module. And So now the module exists. Let's create new folder. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to steal from the role because that's short and easy. We'll put it here. Let's go pick up that module. Profile, and we're going to replace this, this, and this. And then make that guy even again. Okay, and remember we needed name, role, and tags. All right. So tags, actually I'm just going to steal from right here. All right, so tags, we've got the tags there. Role, we're going to need a dependency. So, and actually our instance already has it. So we are going to take the runner role, make that our dependency, and then we actually reference what we need out of this. So we will go back to instance, runner role, output name. We're going to actually want the ID on this one. So role. Let's go double check. Okay. Role. Oh, name. Okay, so it does want the name. So that is correct. So that's that. And then we'll change that to profile. So we've given it a name, we've given it the role, and we've given it the tags. Those are the three things that we needed in the module. It has a dependency on the runner role because that's what it has to have in order to get this role. Now we need to update the instance to point to this guy instead. So over here where it says runner role, we will say runner profile, and instead of role we'll say profile. And then down here where it said role, we will say profile. And then that should be it. Let's check these outputs, make sure. So am I looking at the right one? Yeah, so I'm not seeing a name here. Okay. So it will output the name. Yeah, let's go ahead and add that to our outputs. There we go. All right. So that should be good. So we now have our instance profile is created. It creates a name. It creates all this other stuff and outputs that. And our instance then consumes that And once it's consumed, which actually we don't need this anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and take the opportunity to get rid of that. It creates the instance. All right, so let's go ahead and submit this. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do an apply, but we're going to do an apply on just the profile. So let's do a run. Pick our branch, and our path is going to be operations runner profile. Fingers crossed, everybody. Oh. Wop wop. Okay. Instance profile. Oh, okay. I know what I messed up. I thought that looked too short. There we go. All right. All right, let's cheat because I don't want to type all that crap again. That one fell too fast for me to even get my email out. All right. Well, still. Okay. All right. So. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, two basic mistakes. One, it's string, not strings, so I can fix that real easy. And this one says that, oh, no, okay, I am an idiot. Okay, so two really dumb, easy things to fix. So let's go here. So first of all, it's map string, not strings, and type is string. Default is what's null. I can't believe I made the mistake. All right. Welcome to Doing It Live with Red. This is precisely why nobody does this crap live. I guarantee you, almost everybody out there, probably everybody out there who does any sort of coding or work like that on YouTube and streams it, I can practically guarantee you that they've already done it once, they know what the right answer is, and they've got it on a screen next to them to reference. Because, well, maybe that's just me, but I mess things up all the time. Like I'll think I know the best way to do it, and I'll type it in and it won't work. And I'd be willing to bet that the people that do kind of like, oh, I messed that up, let me fix it, ha ha ha. Well, I'd be willing to bet those folks are probably intentionally, most of the time, not all the time obviously, but most of the time I'd be willing to bet they're intentionally making mistakes to make it appear more live than what it really is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've watched some guys code, and I just know from like peer programming with people I respect who are really good programmers, they just don't get it right first time every time like that. Come on. Let's see, I've got a meeting today, I think, at noon. Probably be good to know where that's at, wouldn't it? Okay. So it's just across the street from me. All right. Well, we're partway there. And actually, while this runs, now there is one more thing we have yet to do, so let me go ahead and pop these pipelines out. And since that last one ran, we know it's there. But we have, oh wait. Oh, it's because I ran it manually. Let me get the other one. Okay, here we go. Update docs. You've seen these before. I'm just going to go ahead and download it. Here we go. Copy this guy, and we'll get rid of all those guys. And then we'll go up here and README, which is now blank, and then paste. Oh, and it worked. All right, so now let's go ahead and pop over and run. And that's going to be operations slash. I'm just going to do runner. Technically, we've already run chunks of it, but that's okay. It won't take me longer because it'll just look to see that they already exist and then move on to the next. Come on. Ding, I got an email. This is so sluggish today. It's probably because I've been hammering the crap out of it. And by the way, the advantage of kind of committing code the way that I do, we're like, so, you know, like I said, I've worked around a lot of really experienced, very high quality, like software developers and system engineers, both really. And one of the things that I do that's I think kind of different from most of the other folks that I've worked with is they will write a lot of code that how do I put this? They will work on their code on their own systems, and they'll test all their own code on their own systems. So, like, you know, in my case, all this is running through this Git, through GitLab. But what they'll do is they'll have like what they call a Git hook, which is like a script that executes whenever you commit code to your local commit repo or Git repo, or you know, they'll just have like manual commands that they execute that runs and tests the code locally before they commit it. And the advantage of that is that you don't look as stupid as I do when, like, I post in really dumb mistakes like strings instead of string, or, change the type to null instead of adding default equals no. Really dumb things like that everybody doesn't need to see necessarily. So the advantage is you don't show that part of your work as much when you edit everything locally and then submit it. And that's fine. I mean, there's no reason really you have to advertise your mistakes like that. But I mean, even from a leadership perspective, I don't think that advertising that really does anything. It's not like I don't talk about it anyway, so I make those kinds of mistakes. But the issue that I have with it is that, like, let's say, I don't know, John Doe over here and I are both working on a project, and John's doing it the other way, where he's writing code and saving it and then executing stuff on his computer and basically making all these changes until he is satisfied with it, and then he does the commit. The difference with that is that because he's executing all that stuff on his own computer, the environmental variables, the libraries that are installed, any sort of other like unique edge cases, because there's all sorts of configuration stuff that can go into these that might be true or set or different on his computer than it is on my computer. So in that situation, if I tried to work from my computer, we basically have two different environments that we're trying to maintain parity between, and that never works. I mean, you're always running into issues. No matter how well you communicate, there are going to be problems there. On the other hand, if we are both committing and executing these tests and scripts on the GitLab, there's never really, through GitLab runners, there's never really going to be a situation where I'm doing anything that's different than John Doe is doing. When he commits stuff to the GitLab and the runner takes it and does whatever with it, it's going through the exact same process with the exact same libraries with the exact same configurations as when I submit my code and it's doing stuff. So there's constant parity between the two of us. So that's one advantage. The other advantage is that we are also committing and testing the code using the exact same environment that when we deploy to production is going to be used. So we're also maintaining parity not just between the two of us, but that we are also maintaining parity with the production deployment solution. So that's a huge deal too, because I can't count how many times it's worked on my machine, and you hear that phrase a lot. It works on my machine, and you get done with it, and then you submit it, and it fails when it hits the runner or whatever. All right, so this deployed. Next thing, we need to test it. So let's go back to instances. Did it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Runner. All right, let's connect. Of course, it did just deploy. Maybe. Yeah, it's still initializing, so maybe it hasn't actually finished deploying yet. We'll give it a little bit. But yeah, anyway, so just throwing that out there. That's one of the reasons why I think deploying and utilizing the runners like this is superior to running stuff, executing stuff from your local system. I think in the end, it saves a lot of headache. And while you might not look as smart because you're not, you're not making perfect commits every time. Honestly, I think the squashing commits when you go to do a merge kind of mitigates that. But yeah, anyway. All right, let's see. Still initializing. All right, give it a little bit. And I guess it is also possible that even once it's initialized, it might take a little bit to connect to SSM. We did add those endpoints, didn't we? Let's go look. SSL messages. There should be SSL and SSL messages. Did I miss one? Make sure I can see this one. I think I was putting them in all the... Well, that might be something else we need to check. Oh. Yep, I made a mistake. Because we do not need EC2, we need SSL. So, actually, you know what? Let's do both, because I think EC2 messages is also how some of the advanced logging and stuff works. So we'll go ahead and leave that SSL and SSL. And then that means we also need to update our outputs. So go down here to the bottom. That works out. We've got extra space here anyway. So okay. Actually, let me go ahead and delete the endpoints. And then we'll redeploy endpoints so that the SSL gets picked up. Actually, this will be kind of interesting to see. So once it does the plan, it'll come back and tell us like what changes are going to be made. Let's look and see if it plans to destroy all the endpoints and then recreate them, or if it's just going to create the one endpoint that we've added. Theoretically, it should just create the one endpoint that we've added, because all the others, haven't changed. They're expected to exist. They already exist. That should be good. But let's look at the plan and see what it actually says it's going to do. And we'll probably have to restart our instance once this is deployed to make it pick up that new endpoint. All right, let's see. Yeah, so actually looking at this, that's exactly what it did. It just basically says, hey, I'm missing this SSM endpoint, so I need to add it. So if we go back and look, that's what it's doing right now. It'll apply that SSM endpoint, which should come up pretty quick, and then we're good to go. Oh, I just deleted that spreadsheet. I should have held on to it. Oh well, never mind. Back in the day, a lot of you guys probably wouldn't. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't remember this, but back a long time ago, it used to take a lot of time to compile code because most code was basically application based, and you would write and write and write, and you had to recompile code every time to do any sort of testing. We didn't have it really modular like we do now. It was these monolithic applications. And so you would start your code compile, and it would take forever for that crap to compile. And so the running joke was that, developers would basically just run around goofing off, and if anyone asked, oh, we're deploying code. Okay, here we go. So it's there, it's online, good to go. Yep, available. All right. Now let's go EC2. And if this doesn't work, we'll just restart him and see what happens. There it goes. Okay, yep, that was all we were missing. All right, so we're good to go. Let's go ahead and merge this code now. So we're going to create a merge request. Okay. Now we'll just leave it at that. Add runner. All right. you know what? I just realized we made a change. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about it right now. So I'm doing a really bad thing, and I just want to acknowledge that. We made a change to the Zcast cluster endpoints here. That means this README needs to change. We also, I don't remember if we changed this README before or after we made a change to the variables over here, but those READMEs need to change. They need to be updated. But I'm going to skip that for right now because I know that one of my next branches is going to be adding tags to all this stuff. I'm gonna put a pin in that temporarily, but that will be one of the things I do probably this week. So once I do add that in, all those are going to change anyway. So I'll leave it as it is right now, and we just basically have an undocumented output that it's not a big deal. It's just an extra output that is not captured as part of the README, which is, not ideal. It's not something you should do. And if it weren't for the fact that everything I'm doing right now is on overhead, if I were being paid to do what I'm doing right now, I would not do this. If I was being paid for this work, it would be done correctly. But in this case, I'm eating this time because I think what I'm doing here is going to be valuable later on, and I'm responsible to meet, basically. All right. And it's an internal repo that no one else needs to see. So, okay, squash the commits. It all looks good. Let's create the merge request. All right. We don't want your stinking pop-ups. All right, so approval is optional. This will eventually be changed as well. So typically in a production environment, there would be some sort of approval required. So you would create the merge request. It'll do some testing and stuff because the merge request is different than a commit. And then once all that's done, you will have a little notice here that like you're pending approval, and someone else on the team, either a specific designated person, which sometimes is the way it works, or just another peer reviewer needs to look at it and check to make sure that it's functional. And so what they would do is they come over and they don't typically look at the commits so much, but they might look at the pipelines and see, hey, when's the last couple of pipelines? Oh, we're all green, so pipelines are good. What about changes? Okay, in this case, I just added a bunch of new files. And as long as I see, like, really, for the most part, these big green, there's no subtractions. I literally added files. That's what I did here. And then I deleted this file, which doesn't matter. Okay, that's fine. So really, this entire commit is just adding stuff. So now I know, okay, it's not going to probably not going to impact anything that is existing. So now I just need to go through and understand what it is that they did. And that's where I start actually reading the code. So like, right here, I see that this one has a dependency on the VPC, which I don't care about. Oh, dependency on the profile. Okay, that's new. That's one of these new files. Let me go look at that. Okay, this has a dependency on the role. Oh, that's one of those new files. Let me go look at that. Okay, so I'm going to start here. All right. So I'm going to read through this guy, and basically it looks like it's just a single input. All right, what's it doing? Oh, here's this role. Oh, I don't recognize that. Is that? Ah, yes. Okay. So they added this runner role, and so that means that that's something that I need to look at. So I'm going to, then go down and read through the runner role, and then move on. And then when I get to the profile, kind of the same thing. I'll see that this is a new module, so I'll go down and look at the module a little bit. Blah blah blah. And that's basically how I do it. And once you've verified that everything that's being added was written correctly, formatted correctly, it's readable, and I understand what's going on, and I don't have a problem with them adding an EC. And that's the other thing too, from an architectural standpoint. If I look at my reference diagram, Okay, I do have my EC2 instance listed here, so the reference diagram, what I'm adding is in the diagram, so that's been updated, so that's, another thing to check for. And I don't object to putting an EC2 instance here. Like, let's give it as an example. Say I had just submitted code to add an EC2 instance to one of my subnets over here on the boundary. Well, when I do my code review, I'm going to look at that and be like, whoa, wait a minute. Why are we putting an EC2 instance out here where it's accessible to the internet? That's not a good idea. That's a vulnerability that we're introducing to our environment. We don't want to do that. So that's not kosher. And usually, a lot of times, like in these larger engineering programs, where like if you were on a team that was developing something like the CalSOC that we're working on here, you will all have like much more complex engineering reference documentation. Like you're going to have completely built out, typically, if it's done correctly, you're going to have completely built out network topology maps of everything and where everything goes and how it all works before you ever really even get the code going. And then you're also going to have lots of documentation. You're going to have lots of meetings on what sorts of things are you adding or what are you creating in order to ensure that you're not introducing any sort of security issues that people need to know about, because we can't all know about everything security wise. That's why we have these conversations as a team usually in a situation like this, because even as long as I've been doing it and as much as I know about security, there's still just tons of stuff that I don't think about, and frankly sometimes I get lazy and I skip stuff, because we all do, and someone needs to call me out on that. So having these architectural reviews and making that part of this merge request process, and that's just one of those questions that you ask when you're approving someone's merge request. What's the architectural change? Has it been documented? Can I think of any reason why this would be a problem? What are we trying to accomplish? Like in my case, I'm enabling SSM. That might not be something we want in our environment. Maybe for some reason we have decided that that's a security issue, or maybe that's not the process we've decided we want people using to access systems. So maybe it's completely legitimate and an absolutely fine thing to do standalone, but from a team perspective, we have decided there's another way that we're going to accomplish that particular requirement, and I'm straying from that team mandate. So that's all kind of part of what these merge requests are. They're sanity checks to make sure that just what you're doing is compliant with what we're trying to accomplish as a team. So anyway, so all that said, since I'm the only one working here, I do whatever the hell I want. So you can go ahead and merge it. But generally, those are thoughts that you'd want to go through if you're working on a team and doing this sort of thing on your own. So, okay. So we have gotten to the point where we have checked the runner. It is accessible. We've done everything we need to do to make it available. And so it's good to go. I was going to update those tags, but realizing that I missed a lot of them, I'm going to go ahead and table that for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and stop this stream, take a quick break while I start the next stream. And then when I get back from my break, we'll go into, I'm going to start trying to get this instance set up and connected to GitLab so I can execute jobs against that instance. And we'll talk about like tagging instances and tagging jobs and how we make sure that when jobs run, they run in the correct instance and that sort of thing. All right. So I think that's mostly it. All right. Yeah. Let me end the stream and I will see you guys in a bit.